first things first, we have to feed our starter. I keep this little bit in the fridge. I bring it out when I need to feed it. I use water to get it out of this little jar, and I fill up my starter jar with 160 grams of water and about 80 to 90 grams of rye flour. Then I mix this up, cover it, and leave it on my counter. Make sure that it doubles, and you can use a rubber band or some sort of mark to make sure you know when it's gonna double. Okay, so here it is, it's bubbled. So now I use all-purpose flour, this starter, water and salt, and that is a basic recipe for a regular sourdough. So now I save some starter. For next time, I'll just put a tiny bit back into the jar and put this in my fridge. That's all I need to save. No feeding or keeping on the counter. Okay, so I'm making 2 loaves. So I need about 600 to 700 grams of water, about 200 to 250 of a sourdough starter, and about 900 grams of flour, 10 to 12 grams per loaf of salt, so about 22 to 24 grams of salt. But first we just want to mix up our sourdough starter and water. And then to this, once that's really mixed well, we'll add the flour, which, like I said before, is 900 grams or 1,000 grams of flour, depending on how much you want to make. But yeah, it's super simple. This is just a beginner's, nothing added extra to this. All right, so now is when you gotta get all in there. Mix it all up. Don't be afraid to use your hands. You can wet your hands, and that'll keep it from sticking to you. So just get all that flour and water and starter mixed up. I like to let this sit for 30 minutes before I add the salt, and then at my first stretch and fold is when I'll add the salt. So I like to keep some water with me, and now we're going to do the stretch and folds. I'm just going to sprinkle the salt over the flour and kind of push in and mix in the salt into the flour. And then we're going to do the stretch and folds, which is just grabbing each side of the flour and flipping it over onto itself, and then moving the bowl, rotating the bowl, and doing that over again. With the first set of stretch and folds, you can do anywhere from 6 to 12. I try and do a little bit more at first, and then as I go on to the next set of stretch and folds, I'll do a lot less of them. Okay, so all you have to do is grab one side, stretch it up, fold it over, rotate the bowl, stretch it up, fold it over, and just keep doing that until you feel like you've stretched each rotation of the bowl. So then after 30 minutes to an hour, you can do the second stretch and folds, and then after 30 minutes to an hour again, the last stretch and folds. After you're done with these, this is where you kind of check your kitchen temperature and leave it for proof for another 30 minutes to 2 hours or longer, depending on the temperature in your kitchen. Here in Florida, I tend to do 30 minutes to an hour, 30 minutes in the summer, an hour or 2 hours in the winter. So now we just are going to do shaping. We are going to get our dough off the bowl and onto our counter, and we are going to split it in two. Shaping is a little bit tricky, so this is where you start checking if you maybe need to add more or less water into your recipe depending on your kitchen, or more or less proofing time, again depending on your kitchen, and how comfortable you are with the dough. So split it in half, and this is where you don't have to be perfect unless you're selling your goods. You can weigh them and make sure that they're the exact same weight. But now you just need to separate them into two, make sure it doesn't stick to the counter. Use some water. I don't like using flour, I prefer using water. And then you just stretch it into a rectangle very gently without ripping it, and without popping too much of the bubbles. You're gonna stretch it and then fold it to the center on one side, and then just repeat that same movement, bringing each side to the center of the dough. And after you bring that each side to the center and kind of like a tight ball, you're going to flip the dough over and start a circular motion to get that bottom closed and the sides tucked under. So use your fingers to tuck in the dough, and of course wet your hands. Tuck in the dough under, and then turn as you do that. Turn the dough as you do that, kind of moving it across the counter and around the counter. You're going to want to do this only a few times. You shouldn't do it too much because it could end up ripping the dough, and you don't want to rip it because then you'll have a gloppy mess. So after you do it just a few times and you feel like it's going to stain a little bit of a ball, you leave it over onto the side and do the same with your second bread. There's a different way to do it as well. You can stretch it out into a rectangle and then flip one side to the center, flip the other side to the center, and roll it. So I'll show you how to do that as well. Okay, so like I said, just stretch it out and fold one side over, then the other side, and roll it towards you, kind of squishing it into itself as you go, but not too tightly, and also not too gently, not too loose. This type of shaping is really good if you're gonna do like a sandwich bread, but you can also make it round. I'm gonna show you right now. I'm gonna make these both round, and then you let them sit for about 15 to 20 minutes. And while they sit, I like to get my my proofing baskets ready. I really just use whatever I have in the kitchen, though over time I have collected a few different sizes and shapes, but these are the ones that I use. So I put my tea towels over and pour a generous amount of rice flour onto the towels, and then I'll do this again even after I'll put the bread inside. So the second shaping is going to be very similar to the first shaping, except a lot quicker, because you're going to want to be a lot more gentle with the dough. So after we do the second shaping, we're going to put them into these proofing baskets and then do the bulk fermentation. Alright, so once we get it into our baskets, now we just pinch it closed so it doesn't want to flop all open and undo all our shaping. So very gently grab one side and pinch it over to the other, and then apply another amount of white rice flour over it. That way it does not stick to your tea towel. Now the one that I'm going to bake in the morning, I'm going to leave out before putting in the fridge, maybe 30 minutes to 2 hours, again depending on my kitchen. So then I will put it in the fridge to bulk ferment. I'll bake one in the morning and one I'll bake between 24 to 48 hours. And this is called the bulk fermentation. All right, let's get our kitchen ready to bake our sourdough. We need to preheat our oven to 450. Preheat the Dutch oven and a tray of water to make sure there's moisture, or you can sprinkle some water directly into the Dutch oven, whichever you prefer. So now that our oven is preheated, we are going to flip our sourdough onto a parchment paper and score it. To score it, we are going to spread the rice flour, make sure there's a nice layer of it. We're going to get a blade and cut a line from the top to the bottom, or if you've seen the other design, go ahead and have fun and play with whatever you'd like. This is the most simple, is just making one line from the top to the bottom. If you miss a spot, you can go back and cut it, and I'm just going to do a simple little leaf design. And I'm just going to carry the parchment paper into the Dutch oven, bake it for 25 minutes covered, and then put the timer for 25 minutes, uncover it, turn down the heat to 400, and then let it bake for the rest of the time uncovered. And that's it, friends. You should have a delicious sourdough after 50 minutes of baking. And I hope this video helped you get an idea of how you can get started with sourdough, or make a few changes to what you're already doing. I'm going to let mine sit and cool down, and then I'm going to serve it for breakfast. Thank you for watching and following along. I hope that you had a successful time experience making your sourdough bread this time, with those few tips that I was able to get and just following this recipe. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'm happy to help you all out. Bye.